Welcome to the Fantasy Savvy Weekly Show with your host, Steve D'Angelo, presented by the Face Off Sports Network, discussing high-stakes fantasy football, waiver, fab, free agent pickups, NFL picks, and more. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. And welcome, everybody, to the Fantasy Savvy Weekly Show with your host, Steve D'Angelo. We are back for Week 13 NFL picks. We have the Thanksgiving games tomorrow. We'll talk about those briefly. I don't know if I have any picks for those per se, but got to talk about them a little bit. 3 games tomorrow for Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody, as we head into Week 13. Last week was not good. It was probably our worst week of the year, going 1-7. So we had just gone over the 500% mark, 50% mark, hitting 50.5% for the year, 47, 46-1. And last week we go 1-7. We had the freaking Chargers on Monday night. They didn't cover. The Rams on Sunday night. They didn't cover. We had the Bucks Giants over. That didn't go over. The Texans didn't cover. The Colts didn't cover. It was a disaster. The only game we got right last week was Green Bay. But again, last year, 54.5%. Picking all the way through the Super Bowl. So still plenty of time to turn this ship around. But, we're in Week 13 already. So before you know it, we'll be in the playoffs. Fantasy playoffs in a couple weeks. 2 more weeks until the fantasy playoffs. We've been playing FFPC that has started already. I know Scott Fishbowl has started already as well. So make sure you guys like, subscribe, hit the notification button. We have a Stardom Situm show tomorrow early with Anthony and Hoff. I may be on. We'll see. We did a show earlier today as well, talking about a little array of everything, DFS, picks, props, Stardom Situm. But, yeah, make sure you guys follow me on X at Fantasy Savvy, and, jump in the chat. Anything you want to talk about as far as the games tomorrow, the games this weekend, Stardom Situm, trades, whatever you want to talk about. You've got college basketball going on. Rutgers playing Alabama in Vegas, and you got a Maui tournaments going on. So a bunch of sports going on. We got college football ramping up again this weekend as well. Some big games. So let's get into it. Let's go with our first pick of the week. And, this is a crazy one.
Professional football in America is a special game, a unique game.
And we're going to go. Well, you know what? First off, let's just talk about the Thanksgiving games. I want to, I don't really have any official picks. I almost skipped over those games. I don't want to do that, but let's talk about it real quick. Bears Lions tomorrow, 12:30, and I'm going to go with the Bears with the points. It's not going to be an official pick, but they're getting 9.5. It may go up to 10 by game time. And the Bears, if you remember, they played the Lions tough twice last year. The first game, they did a good job on Goff. They were up. In the first half, they were up and they let the Lions squeak back. Eberflus got real conservative. The Lions came back and won the game. And then the second game, they completely shut down the Lions offense. Their Bears defense just played great. Obviously it was Fields, it's Caleb, but Caleb, he's playing a little bit better. You could say maybe that was one of his better games last week of the season. Ever since the coordinator switched, they're playing a little bit better football. So I like the Bears to cover this one. And I kind of like the under as well. I think the Bears will hold the Lions down a little bit. And I think the Lions defense obviously will do a decent job on the Bears. But the way they played them last year, I think it's just too many points. So give me the Bears plus 9.5. Giants, Cowboys, Dallas is favored by 3.5. Looks like we're going to get Drew Lock in this game. Total is 37.5. I don't know. If I had to pick, I'd probably take maybe the Giants with the hook, but Dallas could easily cover this game. I like the way they played against Washington, so nothing really strong there for me. I maybe I would go Dallas. If I buy it down to 3, if I get 3.5 or 4, I take the Giants. The total, who the hell knows? Really what's going to happen. And the last game, Dolphins Packers Sunday night. It's going to be about 20 degrees. We all know Tua's record in the cold is brutal. I think it was at 1-6. In games under 30 degrees or 40 degrees, whatever it is. He says he wants to prove the narrative's wrong, but it's not a narrative. It's actually the facts. He is not good in cold weather games. They were absolutely brutal in Kansas City. And again, Me living in Florida, I used to be from Jersey. Now when I go outside, when it's like 40, 50, it hits me completely different now. Like I actually am freaking cold. Like my bones, it takes a little while to adjust. Now, suppose they're prepping for it, but, going from Miami where it's 80, 85 degrees, actually it was a little bit cooler last week in Florida, but, 50 at night maybe. So this is 20 degrees in Green Bay. I would lean Green Bay here, and I kind of like the over. I think that the Dolphins will put up some points. I think the Packers will put up some points. No Romeo Dobbs in this game, but still, you got Dontavian Wicks. You got Watson, and you got Jaden Reed and Bo Melton, and even Malik Heath can step in. You got Tucker Kraft as well. So, if anything in this game, I think I would take Green Bay in the over, tease it up. Green Bay buy it down to 3, buy the total down to 47. Then you get the tease. You get Green Bay +3 and then 41.5. So I like that. But, the Giants-Cowboys game is going to be kind of boring, but that's kind of the time when you're going to start eating anyway. 12:30. Maybe you're home still. You haven't left the house. Maybe leave at halftime. That's what I'm going to do. Then you have the appetizers. You have the drinks. Then, maybe by like 5 o'clock, the food's ready. You sit down. You have the game in the background. Or maybe you can go outside, throw the football around a little bit at halftime of this game. Giants-Cowboys going to be freaking Drew Lock versus Cooper Rush. And then you get ready for the Sunday night game. Maybe you go home by then, or maybe you're still in the same spot. We'll see what happens with me. Maybe I'll be by my brother's house all the way up to the late night game. But either way, it's football, family, food. It's nothing better. Thanksgiving really is a great holiday. So everybody enjoy it. Enjoy the games. Well, let's get back to the first pick here. And I'm taking the Jets. The Jets are absolutely miserable. Aaron Rodgers says that he wants to play again, but he's not sure. And if he does play again, it would be with the Jets. So we'll see what happens, with Aaron Rodgers. But I kind of like this spot. Off the bye, they kind of get to reset a little bit. They still are a very talented team. Now, we'll see what happens with Breece Hall. His knee's a little bit banged up. But you got Braylon Allen. He could fill in okay. You still got Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson. And I think their defense will kind of regroup a little bit as well. They're at home. Seattle's got to come across the country. They're riding a 2-game win streak, Seattle. They beat San Francisco. They beat Arizona. But their offense has kind of been a little womp-womp as well. I know it can be dangerous with JSN, DK, Tyler Lockett, Kenny Walker. It kind of scares me a little bit, to tell you the truth. But I don't know. And I hate taking the Jets because normally they just let me down. But I'm going to go with the Jets here, +2. I think they could squeak this out. Maybe it goes up to 2.5, maybe 3. The last game, obviously, they could have won against the Colts. They lost 28-27. They did beat the Texans a couple weeks ago. They got absolutely embarrassed in Arizona, losing 31-6. And then the Seahawks just beat Arizona 16-6. So not the best pick, certainly not a best bet. But when I match everything up, I kind of like the Jets here, plus the 2. I mean, Geno, he's got 12 touchdowns, 12 picks, 3,000 yards. Rodgers got 17 touchdowns, 7 picks. Kenny Walker really hasn't gotten too much going of late. JSN's starting to come on. But I think the Jets could kind of contain them a little bit on defense. And I expect Garrett Wilson to bounce back here, and also Devontae Adams and Rodgers and their defense as well. So give me the Jets +2 for pick number 1 for week 13. All right. Pick 2. And we are going to go with the Commanders -5.5 at home against the Titans. Willie Levis starting to play a little bit better. He's starting to find Ridley, Westbrook, Akine, 5 touchdowns last 6 games. All the guy does is score touchdowns. Pollard had a big game with Spears out last week. Their defense is playing pretty solid. They've been pretty good, against fantasy quarterbacks, but letting up a lot of rushing yards. So I think Daniels, you could say maybe it was Cliff Kingsbury. The offense is getting a little bit stale. Maybe defenses are starting to figure out Washington a little bit. But, they did play Pittsburgh. They lost 28-27. They played Philly, lost 26-18, and they That game against Dallas was crazy. They really weren't doing much until the end. Got the late touchdown and then got the Terry McLaurin miracle touchdown before Seibert, who just went on the IR. It's going to be Zane Gonzalez now. Missed the extra point, and then Dallas recovers the freaking onside kick and scores. I don't know if I've ever seen that in my life. But anyway, I just think at home, a 3-game losing streak for the Commanders. They started out so hot. They were 7-2. Now they're 7-5. They take on the Titans, who, got a nice win against the Texans last week, divisional game. I just think the Titans kind of fall flat a little bit here, and Washington kind of bounces back. Dan Quinn bounces back. Daniels is getting healthier. He looked healthier to me last week, starting to run once again, which is good sign. A good sign. Noah Brown, good player. Zach Ertz, Brian Robinson practiced today. We'll see if he makes his way out there. But even if it's just McNichols, I don't really care that much. Terry McLaurin, the defense, Daniels will make enough plays at home. This is a must-win for Washington. They cannot lose 4 in a row. Now, maybe they don't cover here. Maybe they win by 3. But I like the Commanders to cover the spread -5.5. And Different Strokes 69 says, you just doing pick'ems? No, I'm picking against the spread. So everything is against the spread. No straight up picks. But thanks for joining us tonight, brother. So that is pick 2. Pick 3.
To the players, reality is 1 against 1. Move and counter move.
Pick 3, we are going with the Jacksonville Jaguars. +4 at home. Now, this is contingent on Trevor Lawrence playing. It sounds like he's going to be out there. It sounds like he could have had surgery, which is kind of scary. I don't know how healthy he is. Texans coming off a loss to the Titans. They've lost 3 of their last 4. They're kind of reeling a little bit. CJ Stroud hasn't looked himself. The protection hasn't been good, but he's also missing throws. Nico's second game back. Their defense is kind of leaking points a little bit as well. The Jaguars have been an absolute disaster this year, 2-9. Their last game before the bye, they lost 52-6 to the Lions. But before that, they played close with Minnesota, 12-7. Mac Jones started that game. Mac Jones has started the last 2 games. Then against Philly, Lawrence was starting to play better after a slow start. 28-23 they lose. And they barely lost to Green Bay, 30-27. So 2 close games. And I think, if Lawrence is going to play this week with Brian Thomas Jr., with Ingram, with ETN and Tank Bigsby, and, Parker Washington's not a bad player. Again, they kind of reset off the bye. Doug Peterson gets, time to regroup, kind of game plan. I think they can cover this spread +4. Nobody's going to be really taking the Jaguars. Everybody's just kind of giving up on them. But again, this is contingent on Trevor Lawrence playing. If he does not play and Mac Jones is the quarterback, we are not taking the Jaguars. So it all depends on the health of Trevor Lawrence. All right. Pick 4. Moving along here. And we'll go with a team that is starting to play better football. They just lost last week, but they did win 2 games prior to that.
Blitz is defined as a sudden, savage attack. It is indeed all this.
And we're going with the Panthers, +5.5 at home against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay wins in New York 30-7. They did lose 4 games straight prior to that. Baltimore, Atlanta, Kansas City, San Francisco, playing without Godwin, playing without Mike Evans. Mike Evans finally returns last week. They get the win. Their defense plays better. But the Panthers are playing better. Bryce Young is playing better. He's getting David Moore. I can't believe David Moore is only 29. Seems like he's, older than that, but he's been around a long time. Thielen is back. Chuba Hubbard's been running the ball well. Their defense is playing a little bit better. They did sack Mahomes, I believe, 4 times last week. Actually 5 times. So, they're getting a little bit of pressure at least. So I just think 5 points, the way they're playing, divisional game, coming off a very close game, tight knit against the Chiefs. They beat the Giants in overtime before that. They beat the Saints 23-22 before that. The Bucks, their defense, they look better last week, and maybe they're getting healthier. Maybe they are getting a little bit better as the season goes on as well, but I doubt it. Just lost Jordan Whitehead as well. So let's take, the rising Bryce Young finally kind of playing a little bit like that number one pick that he was. Again, catching 5 at home. Maybe they don't win. Maybe they lose by a field goal, 5.5 rather. Maybe you can get it up to 6, buy it up to 6. Maybe you can find it, 6-point spread somewhere. So let's take the Bucks plus 5.5 for pick 4. All right. Pick 5. And this is kind of a must win. And we'll move to the 4:00 slot now. Let's go with the Rams going to New Orleans minus 2.5. And, the Rams have lost 2 of their last 3 games. They lost to Philly 37-20. They lost to Miami 23-15. They beat New England, big whoop in New England 28-22. But playing the Saints, I understand the Saints made a coaching change. They beat Atlanta. They beat Cleveland. Derek Carr and MBS, are suddenly a thing. Taysom Hill's going left and right. You got Kamara. Their defense playing a little bit better. But this is a spot where the Rams get it done. I really do think the Rams come out here. McVay outcoaches the Saints' new interim coach, Puka and Cup, get it going. Their defense makes some plays. Their pass rush with Jared Verse. This is just a must win for the Rams. 5-6. I think the Saints know their season is pretty much over. 4-7. Yeah. Okay. They won 2 in a row. They're running a little high, coming off the bye. I think it comes to an end this week. They don't win 3 in a row. I think the Rams, the spread's even low enough. It's under 3. It's minus 2.5. So you get a field goal, you win this. So I think the Rams, if they lose this game, it'll be a terrible loss. Terrible loss for McVay and Stafford. You got to win this game. You absolutely have to win this game. So I think they get it done. Going to New Orleans, 4:00 on Fox. The Rams go to 6-6. Again, that division is up for grabs in the NFC West. So they got to keep pace. The Saints, they're pretty much done. They need a miracle. Their team stinks. They have no receivers to speak of. We'll see if Olave comes back. But hey, if they win this week, if they lose this week, they're technically, still not, but they're pretty much done. But maybe, hopefully, we'll see Olave back at some point. But obviously, he had 2 concussions this year, so that might be a little rough. But let's go with the Rams minus 2.5 for pick 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, pick 6. Actually, let's go back to the Panthers game. I also wanted to take the over in that game. Where is it? Yeah, over 46. And again, I think the Bucs are going to put up points in this Panthers defense. Bucky Irving, man, he looks so good. And you got, Evans, Cade Otton, Baker's, had a really, really good season. He's a little bit banged up. I think he was playing with like a stinger in the second half, but he made it through. And then Bryce Young's coming up. Again, they put up freaking 27 points on the Chiefs last week. Bucs defense has been underwhelming for most of the year, allowing 41 to Baltimore, 31 to Kirk Cousins and Atlanta, 30 to the Chiefs, 23 to Purdy. Just 7. They did a good job on DeVito last week, but I think the Panthers could put up 20, 23 points, and the Tampa can get to 28. So again, in addition to the Panthers plus the 5.5, we like the over 46 in this Tampa Carolina game. Good weather, nice and sunny, about 50 degrees in Charlotte. We do have a couple weather games this week. One was, obviously Sunday night. Tomorrow night rather, with Miami and the Packers. It's going to be about 20 degrees. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, also going to be very close, cold rather, about 20 degrees. A little bit of winds, 5 to 10, not a big deal, but cold, but that's not a huge deal. And these two teams are obviously used to playing in the cold, Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, whereas Miami, they just kind of falter under cold temperatures. And the last game, we'll get into that actually as far as weather-wise when we get to that pick. There's one more weather game this week. All right, next pick. And we are going to go with the Ravens against the Eagles. Great game, 425. Eagles 9-2, 5-1 on the road. Ravens 8-4. Tough loss against Pittsburgh. Had a tough game last week going to the Chargers. I thought the Chargers were going to at least cover that game. It wouldn't have surprised me if they won that game, but they ended up losing. They ended up losing, 30-23 to the Ravens. And this is a great game. It's Lamar versus Hurts. Harbaugh, John Harbaugh coming off beating his brother, John. But they're back home. This is kind of Baltimore and Philly kind of close together as far as areas. So it's going to be an interesting game. A really, really good game to see how these two teams play against each other. The Philly defense been playing very, very well after a little bit of a slow start. Fangio has kind of got these young guys playing better. Some good wins along the way against Cincinnati, 37-17, beating up Dallas 34-6, taking care of Washington in a big divisional game, 26-18. And then last week in Los Angeles, winning 37-20. Saquon Barkley, an absolute monster right now. 255 yards on the ground. AJ Brown back healthy now. He's been playing big. We'll see if we get Devonta Smith back. So great game. Zay Flowers is having a nice year. Mark Andrews has had a very slow start. He's playing good football. Rashad Bateman's had a nice year. I think the Ravens defense starting to play a little bit better. They got torched up for 10 touchdowns by Joe Burrow. But they did a good job against Denver. They shut down Bo Nix in that offense, 41-10. Actually, Jameis had a nice day against them, too. But they shut down Pittsburgh and Russell Wilson, even though they lost 18-6, and they did a pretty good job against Herbert in that offense as well. After that first drive where Herbert ran it in, they really didn't do much the rest of the way. So I think they could cause a little bit of trouble for the Eagles defense. This could be a high-scoring game. The total is 51.5. So we could get up there. At the end of the day, give me Harbaugh, give me Lamar at home. The Ravens are 8-4. Philly's 9-2. They're on fire right now. They're kind of due for a loss here. And I think it comes in this spot, traveling a little bit east here to Baltimore from Philly, going to the harbor. So give me Baltimore -3, 425 on CBS, Baltimore, Philly. I'm taking Lamar and Harbaugh over Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. All right, now we'll head to Sunday Night Football. And this is the other weather game I wanted to talk about. And it's going to be in Buffalo, Sunday night. Bills Mafia, Niners coming across the coast, the other coast, northeast, very, very northeast in Buffalo. It's going to be cold, not really San Francisco weather. There might be some snow. We don't really know yet. There could be a lot of snow, but it's definitely going to be cold. Looks like temperatures in the upper 20s, winds around 10 miles sustained, not bad. Some gusts could throw some things off, 20 to 25 miles an hour, but that does not matter for Josh Allen, who's got an absolute bullet. It may affect Purdy. We'll see if he even plays. He hasn't been throwing in practice. Supposedly he did some light throwing, which was basically what I read was like a little bit of a screen pass, and like the rest of the practice, he was just doing some handoffs. But they did some MRIs. There's no structural damage. So I guess it's just about pain for him and what he could, take. So, they could just be taking it very, very easy. I mean, we're only in Wednesday. He has all the way to Sunday night. Maybe by Friday he starts ramping it up a little bit more. We'll have to wait and see. But there could be some snow. But we're gonna have to wait and see. Definitely gonna be cold. The winds don't seem like they're gonna be too much of a concern. Even if it snows without a lot of wind, I'm not too concerned about affecting the offenses that much, unless it's a total, you know, uh, you know, blizzard. But I don't. That doesn't look like that's happening. But I guess in Buffalo, you never really know with that freaking the way the snow just hits Buffalo crazy. So we'll see if Purdy plays. This is a little bit contingent on that. If Purdy does play, I kind of think the spread is right on the money at 7. If Purdy does not play, we see Brandon Allen or even as Josh Dobbs is announced the starter. And I kind of think this game, if they do go to Brandon Allen, like by halftime, if they're not doing much, what they should have did last week, I think we may see Josh Dobbs in this one in the second half. But nonetheless, give me Josh Allen off the bye. Give me the Bills off the bye against the Niners at home. Bills Mafia, Sunday Night Football. I just love it. I think they get it done. If Brandon Allen or Josh Dobbs is starting, 100%. If Brock Purdy's playing, it's not really a best bet, but if he's out, then it's definitely a best bet. It's not as strong. I may still take it, but this is really contingent on Brock Purdy not playing. And again, he's kind of like 50-50 right now, not completely ruled out. Did some light throwing, which is like a screen pass. We'll see what happens as the week goes on. But we do like the Bills. Lean Bills if Purdy's there. And then if Purdy's out, we're definitely hitting the Bills. And you kind of got to bet it now because if Purdy is ruled out, the spread may jump a little bit, maybe 7.5. But, I mean, it is still the Niners. They still have a ton of talent. They still got McCaffrey and Kittle and Debo, Juwan Jennings. Their defense, obviously, Shanahan's a good coach. So, they could maybe keep it close without him. But last week was not great against Green Bay, 38-10. They got obliterated. It's just been a very, very rough season for San Francisco. Definitely a Super Bowl hangover type season. Meanwhile, the Bills, 9-0, coming off a win against the undefeated Chiefs, 5-0 at home. So either way, I think we like Buffalo to bet on, even if Purdy is playing minus the 7. All right, last pick, and then we'll wrap this baby up. And we'll go to Monday Night Football. So we got the Sunday night. We didn't have any official Turkey Day picks, but we gave you some ideas on what we like. But let's go to Monday Night Football. We have the Sunday night. Let's go to Monday night. And pretty interesting game. Browns, Broncos. Broncos 7-5. Nice win last week against the Raiders, 29-19. Nice win before that, 38-6 at home against Atlanta. Beating up the Falcons and almost going to Kansas City and beating Mahomes and company. If it wasn't for a blocked field goal, they would have won. 16-14, they lose. But Bo Nix is playing good. Peyton's got him dialed into this offense. Cortland Sutton, I believe, has been the second highest leading fantasy receiver like the last 4 weeks behind Jamar Chase. He's been great. Devon Vele's been playing pretty well. Sean Payton comparing him to Marquez Colston. Their defense obviously has been solid all season long. But let's look at the Browns and Jameis Winston. And I kind of doubted Jameis Winston. I didn't really think he'd be playing this well. I didn't really think there was much of a difference between him and Watson because I just remember watching a game last year where he filled in for Watson. He was just missing throw after throw after throw. And he was actually looked worse than Watson. But, the fact that he got all these starts and got into a groove, he's really, his energy's been great. He's just been so much better for this team. He's kind of like a little bit of a godsend. And they have really 2 really good wins with him, beating Baltimore and Pittsburgh, divisional games. Outside the division, they haven't been as good. They lost 35-14 to the Saints. They lost 27-10 to the Chargers, but also lost to the Bengals 21-14. But, I think the Browns can keep this close, catching 5.5. I just like the fact that Jameis played good against Pittsburgh. And again, it was a little bit of a crazy game, snow game, but he's hitting Njoku, he's hitting Jerry Judy. We'll see if Cedric Tillman makes his way back. He had a concussion. Elijah Moore, Nick Chubb gets into the end zone twice last week. The yardage, the efficiency obviously isn't good, but maybe he pops up a little bit this week. Maybe he pops. And then on the other side, the Broncos are going to face a lot of man-to-man defense with the Browns, Jim Schwartz's defense. And, Sutton and Vele are bigger receivers, not the best route runners. So they may have a little bit of trouble here with the Browns defense. So I could see this somewhat of a low scoring game. 41.5 is the total. I wouldn't mind maybe teasing the Browns and the under here, but I think the Browns could keep it close. Now, Winston could have a disastrous game. He could fumble the ball once or twice. He could throw a couple picks here. We could see a Pat Surtain pick 6, but 5.5. I know it's Monday night in Denver. I just like the energy that Jameis is bringing to this team. O'Connell is still a good coach. I mean, Stefanski is still a good coach. So give me the Browns plus 5.5. So that's it. Week 13 picks. Again, Turkey Day tomorrow. We kind of like to lead it off with the Bears and the under. The rest of the games, the next game rather, the Giants Cowboys, nothing really. And then for the Thursday night game, kind of like the Packers and the over, but no official picks. The official picks for week 13 are Jets +2. The Commanders +5.5. Jacksonville +4. Rams -2.5. Panthers +5.5. Panthers Bucks over 46. Ravens -3. Bills -7. Browns +5.5. Again, the Jacksonville game is contingent on Trevor Lawrence playing. If he's not playing, then scratch that. But there you have it, guys. Week 13 picks. And we have Scholar Boy saying, would you consider 3 running backs in the main slate on FanDuel tomorrow? Yeah, I mean, that might be pretty popular. So, I mean, if you want to be a little contrarian, I mean, yeah, I would definitely consider it. Gibbs, Dowdle. I'm just trying to pull up my FanDuel here. I gotta put the authentication code in. But yeah, man, I would consider it. I mean, you could go with Gibbs, Dowdle, and either Kamara. I mean, not Kamara. What the hell am I talking about? Tyrone Tracy, HN. Yeah, 100%, man. I would definitely consider it. Let's see if 629554. See if we can build a little something here. What the hell is it? Let's see. FanDuel. All right, so let's put Dowdle's going to be very highly owned. But below him, I mean, do you really want to use Roshan? He's just like a goal line guy. But I mean, you kind of got to use it. So let's put Tracy in there. Montgomery, we don't know if he's definitely going to play. Sounds like he's going to play. Let's see if we could fit Achane and Gibbs in there. And at quarterback, you're going to have to go cheap. I mean, you could use Cooper Rush. You could use Drew Lock. Let's build the rest. Let's build the rest of the team first. Let's see. Dontavian Wicks, 5,400. His ownership doesn't look too high, so it's not terrible. Again, Romeo Doubs is out. Average player 6,140. Could go Amon-Ra St. Brown should play. Let's go Rome, 5,500. Tight end. Let's go Laporta, 5,700. Defense. Let's go Cowboys, 4,100. So let's pick our quarterback now. We'll go with Jordan Love. And the last receiver, we could go with Jaden Reed for the stack, but we do have Wicks. So yeah, let's go Tyreek. So there you go. You got Jordan Love, Tyrone Tracy, Jahmyr Gibbs, Dontavian Wicks, Roma Dunze, Tyreek Hill, Sam Laporta, Devin Achane, and Dallas Cowboys D. Not a bad lineup. You got 3 running backs in there. So yeah, man, definitely consider it. Yeah, it might be a little bit popular to do that, but again, you try to build a couple lineups, you try to switch it up. But there you have it, guys. Week 13 picks. I hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy the games tomorrow. Enjoy the Black Friday game as well. Chiefs, Raiders, and then Sunday games as well. We got college basketball still going on. We got tons of tournaments out west. You got Bahamas. You got the freaking Maui tournaments. You got a tournament in Vegas. Pretty cool time for sports. And then you got the college football ramping up. So everybody enjoy the games. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the time with family. And, we'll be back next Thursday after the Thursday night game for week 14 NFL picks and the last 2 weeks before the fantasy football playoffs. If you guys have any questions, hit me up on X at Fantasy Savvy. But that's it for tonight, guys. Take care. It was great seeing everybody. Great talking to everybody. We'll see you next time.
Yo, vintage got the boom.